This video is going to review how to work with inequalities. So let's take a look at some beginning things. First of all, we need to know how to read the signs. If you look on this screen, we have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and then there are a couple examples here of how you would read it. This says R is less than 7, K is greater than -3, F is less than or equal to -5, and Y is greater than or equal to 8. Here's how you draw it symbolically and graph it. If it said X is less than 2, this is what your symbol would look like. And then this is the shape you would draw on a number line. Because it's just less than, the circle stays open and not colored in. And then it points to everything to the left. If the symbol had an equal to sign underneath it, then you shade in the circle. And then here's two examples for greater than, open circle above the number and then shade to the right, greater than or equal to, closed or shaded in circle and shade to the right. So here's an example of a number line that's already been drawn. It goes from -10 to -1. The circle is placed above -7, so that's what I would put down as my number. It's shaded in, so that means it's going to be equal to. When your circle is shaded, that means it's also equal to. So I need an equal to sign underneath. And then if I look at the end of the arrow, it is pointing towards the right. This is all the numbers greater than -7. So I would place that also in. And then I'm going to use the letter X because any number greater than or equal to -7 fits in all this space right here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at with inequalities is solving an inequality itself. So the first and the most important thing you need to do is look at what number is going with your variable. If the number that's with the variable is a positive, then you just leave it alone and solve the problem. If the number you're working with, if the variable is positive in the beginning, just solve the problem. If the variable you're working with has a negative number with it, then we're going to flip the sign, then solve the problem. Okay, so just a little quick review. This one is positive, so I just keep it the same. This one, I'm going to look to the spot in front of the number. That one's also positive, so I'm going to leave it the same. When I look at this number in front of the variable, it's a -2, so that means I need to flip the sign. So this question actually, sometimes people like to rewrite them. It's going to be -2x. I also have -3, but then I need to flip this sign that's right here. I need to make it go the other direction. So now it's going to say greater than or equal to, and -5 is still my number. Okay, when I look over here, this one's also a negative coefficient. So that means I need to flip my sign. So the question that I really need to solve now is still -3 plus 4. But because it had a negative number in front of the variable, I'm flipping my sign before I solve the problem. And then I would just work it out. Okay, so be careful. Look to see if your number that's with your X is positive or negative. So this one was negative. This one was negative. This one was positive, so I kept it the way it was. This one was positive, so I kept it the way it was. So here's our first one that we're actually going to work out. I'm going to look to see, is the number with the variable a positive or a negative? Okay, this one is a -2. So that means I need to flip the sign and make it go the opposite direction. So the question now that I really need to solve is going to be -2x. I still have regular 9. But now I'm going to have to flip this. It's going to go the other direction. And then at the end, it's still -7. Okay, I'm going to draw a line down. Now I'm going to solve it just like normal. Instead of adding or positive 9, I'm going to say take away 9 or -9. Whatever you do to the one side, you always do to the other side. So 9 and take away 9, these cancel each other out. When I come over to this side, this says -7, take away 9. Those two numbers have the same, these are both negative or both take away. So you really should add these together. When you do that, you're going to get -16. And then you still have your -2x. So -2x times something is greater than -16. So this is the number I'm looking for. If I don't know what that is, my last step is divide by -2. Divide by -2. -2 divided into -16. That's going to be 8. Now, if I want to check to know if it's positive or negative, my class has this little math dude guy. I'm going to take the numbers that were at the end of the problem. -2, -16. That means 8 has to be the positive number. I had -16 and I had -2. So the only place left over for 8 to go is positive. My final answer when I write this down, x, remember we flipped the sign, so it's greater than +8. Any number greater than +8 would work for this question. Okay, if that one example didn't help you, here's a couple extras. Remember, the first step before you start solving is you want to look at the number that's with a variable that was positive, so all your signs stayed the same. You see that? Stay the same. However, if your variable is -2x, all of these symbols, they change them to go the other direction. Okay? The sign got flipped. So now when we get ready to look at a story problem, there are some clue words that help us know what sign we're going to use, if it's going to be greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So when you're going through your story problem, if you need some help, some things you could do is, oh my goodness. Some things you could do is come back to this slide and look and see if it's just greater than or equal to, or if you're supposed to incorporate, if it's greater than, less than, or if you're supposed to have equal to. Come back and look for these words. So, writing our inequality from a story problem. Just like a regular equation, what we're looking for is a number that gets repeated often. Some clue words for a number that gets repeated often sometimes are per, every, or each. And then we also have a constant number that occurs only one time. Sometimes it is addition, but sometimes it's subtraction. And some clue words for that might be it's a fee, it's a starting amount, it's a balance, something that only occurs once. And then we also going to look for that clue word to know if it's going to be less than, greater than, instead of equal to. So the story problem we're going to look at, this says, Kim wants to sell at least $500 worth of desserts each day at her bakery. She sells cakes for $8 each and cupcakes for $2 each. Write an inequality that could be used to determine the number of cupcakes Kim needs to sell to meet her goal if she sold 20 cakes. So my first step is I'm going to look for some important information. here is a clue word that says at least and 500. So this tells me that's going to be my total. And at least means she could go over. So she's going to sell more than or equal to. If you need to go back and look at that list of words, my class, it's in your journals too as well. Another piece of information that we know right now is that cakes are $8 each. And then we know that cupcakes are $2 each. So here's some things I know, because this is going to, we also know that she sold 20 cakes already. Oops, I need my highlighter back. She sold 20 cakes. Okay, so I know I'm going to have greater than or equal to. And I know I'm going to have 500. We're trying to determine the number of cupcakes she needs to sell. Okay, so here's cupcakes. That's going to be my variable, 2x, because they're $2 each, plus she already sold 20 cakes. So if she already sold 20 cakes and they're $8 each, that means she actually already earned $160. I had to figure that out on my own right there, multiply them together. Now this is ready to solve. Draw the line down, and I'm going to start working backwards. Instead of using those cakes, I'm going to take them away. So take off the $160 for the cakes. Subtract from both sides. Once I do that, I still have $2 each for the cupcakes, but my cakes have canceled each other out. I still keep my greater than or equal to, and then 500 minus 160 is 340. And final step is divide by 2. Divide by 2. If you're not sure what this is, set it up your dividing box. It is going to be 170. So my final answer, the way I would write it, is x is greater than or equal to 170. And that is cupcakes if you're needing to put a label on it. She has to sell more than or equal to 170 cupcakes to meet her goal. All right, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.